Hello.
Caroline, thank you so much for inviting me in.
Thank you for coming.
So you are the archivist for LIM.
Yes. Welcome to the archives. We are part of the Adrian G. Marcuse Library here at LIM College. Our mission is to identify, collect, document, preserve, and promote access to enduring records of LIM College and materials related to the fashion industry.
Oh, wonderful.
We provide resources to students, faculty, and researchers that foster learning creativity with a global perspective.
Oh.
So come on in and I'll show you some of the things we have.
So tell me the quick history of LIM.
So we were founded in 1939 by Maxwell Marcuse. He worked as an advertiser for department stores in the 20s and 30s in New York City. Due to a need as a result of World War I, there was a need for women to step into departmental management role and buying roles in department stores. So his colleagues asked him to develop a program for the business of fashion, and that's how LIM was founded.
Oh, cool.
So I have some materials kind of highlighting the history of retailing in New York City and of the school in general. We have, that is Maxwell Marcuse at his desk at LIM.
Oh, cool. And was he involved with the fashion industry before starting LIM?
Yes. So I have this really neat letter of application. He applied for the advertising position at Oppenheimer & Collins, which was a women's specialty store here in New York that started in 1901. And it's really neat how he wrote the letter. He kind of outlined the perfect person for the role with just the implication that he was talking about himself. And it must have worked because he then received this letter to come in for an interview. And then we also have the initial job posting from the New York Times from 1920.
And what did he do at Oppenheimer and Collins?
He was in charge of all the advertising, so all of the flyers, the circular, like sales, getting the word out, working with other colleagues to showcase what the store was focusing on at that time, if they had sales or if it was a certain season. That was his job to promote the store in general.
I see. Let me just adjust this real quick. I got to record myself. So as you were saying, what was he doing at Oppenheimer? Sorry.
No, it's okay. He was in charge of the marketing.
Yeah.
So all of the promotions and sales, depending on the season, showcasing new merchandise, targeting specific customers and demographics. That was his job. And he worked, it was kind of a tight-knit community of prestigious retailers at that time in New York City, so they all knew each other, and his colleagues asked him to start this school. So he came up with a one-year certificate program that trained primarily women at this time. The school didn't admit men until the 70s, but they focused on experiential learning. So they, as you can see from these photographs, the classroom would be set up as a store, and they would do little like role playing for the first part of the semester, and then the second part of the semester they would be placed in retail roles to get that hands-on experience during peak shopping seasons of Christmas and Easter.
So interesting. They're learning the fashion business side,
Right.
which is something that's core to the industry here in New York City.
Yes, exactly.
And Marcuse, what was his main reason for starting the college? What was his intention?
I think it was just he saw a need. His colleagues would say they would hire women for these roles, train them, and then they would be poached by a different department store once they invested all of this time in them. So they really wanted to create an educational program to prepare them for these roles, to stay in them, to grow with the company.
I see. And what else are we seeing here?
So these are, this is a field trip. The students that were in the 1960s visiting a bridal showroom. So we have lots of hands-on experience. This is our building, our townhouse building on 53rd Street in the 80s.
Was that the original campus?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, actually, the very, very first campus building was on 34th Street. The school bought this townhouse building in the 60s.
Fascinating.
And it was the only building until the mid-2000s when the school expanded. They were enrolling more students, and there was a need for more room. So this building, Maxwell Hall, and we also have a building on Fifth Avenue are utilized.
And here we see a report card.
Yeah, so there's a report card from the 40s.
Did this person get good grades?
I think they did pretty good.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
yeah. And then also I have a application from 1940. And you will see.
You can tell from the shoulder pads.
I know, the shoulder pads, and the students would have to submit photographs with their applications, which is interesting.
So for example, this is Renee Letterer.
Forest Hills.
Forest Hills. Fascinating. And then over here, choose your career in glamorous fashion merchandising.
Yeah, so this is a flyer, a marketing flyer from the 40s that showcased the different focuses that you can study here at LIM. This is actually the address from the first school on 34th Street.
It goes to show how many different jobs are associated
Yes.
to fashion aside from just design and making
Exactly.
garments.
And LIM is focused just on the business side, and we have many different focuses and majors. Students go into all sorts of different positions after graduating.
Right here we have an interesting book.
Yes.
Showing a lot of New York City's fashion history.
Yes, Maxwell Marcuse was also an author and a lecturer. He also taught classes before he started LIM. But he wrote this really great book called This Was New York, and it's a nostalgic picture of Gotham in the Gaslight era. So it starts in the late 1800s, talks about New York City and how the garment district was developed, and it also talks about some prominent areas that were specific to fashion and retailing. And we had seen, to show these pictures, oops, sorry.
No worries.
Let me put this down here.
It's a big book also.
I know,
lots
I know.
of history crammed inside.
Yeah, he went kind of neighborhood by neighborhood. But here we have some pictures from Lord and Taylor in the 1870s. First department store food demonstration. Here's R.H. Macy's at their first address on 14th Street.
The original location.
Original
Wow.
location. A lot of stuff was downtown.
Yeah.
A little
along
further
6th Avenue.
down. We
This
have
is
Old
Ladies'
6th
Mile.
Avenue.
So Ladies' Mile, right
Ladies'
underneath
Mile.
the elevated 6th Avenue
There was
train line.
still the elevated train. You can see that here too.
And right here we have the lunch crowd during midday,
Oh,
right by Ladies' Mile.
yes. The opening of Siegel Cooper Store in 1896.
Fascinating, wow.
6th Avenue and 18th Street.
And these type of books, since the New York City fashion history is not really a popular read.
No, it's not,
these
but
books
it's
tend to be out of print.
yeah, it's a fascinating topic. We actually also hold a conference here. The library sponsors Fashion Now and Then, and a lot of these topics are covered, and that's in the fall every year. So we try to get scholars from FIT, the Bard Institute, that have that fashion history element to them too.
Fascinating. And then you have a few other classic books here.
Yeah, so I pulled, these are from Maxwell Marcuse's personal collection. He has a lot of rare books, and these kind of showcase the fashion business textbooks over the years. We have one, this is from, I think, the 1920s or 30s. It is oh, this one's 1950. And it talks about techniques in retail merchandising, a fashion buyer's job, a textbook. I think this one's from the 80s or 90s. This is from 1971.
Beautiful books as well.
Yeah, they are really beautiful. Private labels, store brands, and generic products. This talks about more of the branding.
And these were used as textbooks in the classroom.
Yeah, these were used as textbooks.
And then one other book over
Oh,
here.
yes. So this is from 1922. Maxwell Marcuse was one of the editors, and it is called The New Album in Retail Buyers, Who's Who Among Men and Women Who Buy for the Millions. So this is like all relief. It's so pretty. It was published by the Buyers Publicity League in New York, and it shows profiles of different buyers and
Fascinating.
as we get further, and the stores that they worked for, and little advertisements to showcase the merchandise that they carry and their locations. So this is also a really good history lesson into New York City retailing.
And this would be such a strong resource for anyone who is a designer during that time that wants to know who's who.
Who's who,
fashion world.
or people that want to get into that world,
Yeah.
know who to talk to.
So let's pick one person here.
Okay, how about
we
this?
have T.S. Bellin.
Bellin. He was one of the older generation of retail buyers. He was born in England in 1857, and he worked as a salesman for G&H Lee and Company, now known as Selfridge and Company in London.
Selfridges, oh wow.
Yeah. So,
That's great.
he was an important guy.
It's interesting because these stories are not so often repeated.
Right.
So it's nice to see books have kept this alive, this history.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, fascinating. And
Yeah.
is there-
Oh, and this guy worked at Oppenheim and Collins, which is where Marcuse worked.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so there's a connection there.
Is Marcuse in here? Probably
I don't
not.
know if he I don't think he put himself, because I think this is more specifically
Yeah,
for buyers,
I
and
see.
he was in advertising. But yeah, he knew everyone. He was one of those
He did, yeah.
men who knew everyone.
And,
He's a good networker.
of course. Any other pieces you want to show us? Or
We have a collection from a woman named Alexandra Potts, who was big in the bridal world. She worked for Lord & Taylor and Modern Bride magazine, and I pulled some things from her collection. I thought this was really interesting about how things kind of changed once women started working in these positions.
Yeah.
This is from 1945, and so the customer satisfaction was really important to them. So these were like surveys that were passed out at ladies' clubs to make sure that, they were getting what they wanted from their shopping experiences. And then I also pulled,
take a close-up on that.
sure.
Ladies' clubs, interesting.
Yeah, like lady lunching clubs.
So similar to like the couture clubs in Paris. It's,
Yes,
kind of on
yes.
the lower end, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was interesting that they saw that, women are the ones that are making the decisions on what to buy from these stores.
Also, they have a say in how the designs were made and what ended up being sold. Yeah. Fascinating.
And then I also just pulled this Journal of Retailing periodical from April of 1948, so you can see some of the topics. Who makes the money, the manufacturer or the retailer? We also have
Oh, interesting. So there were
retail trade.
There were fashion business journals.
Yes, yeah, these were
but-
specific for people that worked in the industry. So
fascinating.
they're almost like trade journals.
Trade journals,
Kind of
yeah.
like Women's Wear Daily today.
But there weren't academic journals because that came way later.
Yeah, that was a little different. But this is interesting. So this is kind of a recap from 1947. So this goes down and talks about all of the retail stores.
Ooh, let me show that list.
Yeah. Ooh, Abercrombie and Fitch was around in the 1940s. I did not know
I
that.
did not know that either. Abraham and Straus, of course, that later became absorbed by Macy's.
Yes.
Oh, fascinating. And here we have, what else? Ludwig Baum.
Oh, and look at all of these. There's Macy's down here. Marshall Field and Company.
Zoom on Macy's.
Gimbals.
Gimbals, the arch rival, Macy's. Fascinating.
Yeah.
So these are all the retail stores in New York City.
Their sales, their profits, comparative to the previous year. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Let's put this down and let me take a close-up on this.
Sure.
This list, wow. It's fascinating because it shows the side of the retail stores that we usually don't talk about,
Yeah,
aside from the major ones. Because almost everyone remembers Macy's, but a lot of people don't realize that Macy's was also Abraham and Straus.
Right.
And like 5 other stores all combined into one. Wonderful. Awesome. And that's a wrap here.
Hey, yeah.
Let's go downstairs. I would love to show a little bit more of those
Sounds
big books.
great.